Coming up here on the San Francisco 49ers Report, should the Niners bring in Robert Saleh after he was fired by the New York Jets this morning? That is the story today in Ninerland. Plus, Talanoa Hufanga has suffered another injury that will keep him out for this foreseeable future. Nick Bosa calls this Seahawks matchup on the road on Thursday Night Football a must-win game. And because Jake Moody got hurt trying to make a tackle on Sunday in that awful loss against the Cardinals, the Niners today did sign a kicker who will kick for this team over the next few weeks. Before we dive into everything on this loaded edition of the San Francisco 49ers Report, be sure to subscribe to the channel for daily Niners shows. And another programming reminder, we will be live for our Niners Seahawks watch party, Thursday Night Football action right here on the show. So the story today, as noted in Ninerland, is that Jets coach and former 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh was fired by the New York Jets this morning in a surprising move made by owner Woody Johnson. Saleh reported to the Jets facility to begin preparations for Week 6 after a loss to the Vikings in London on Sunday morning. How about Minnesota? Still off to an undefeated start. The Vikings and Kansas City Chiefs, the only undefeated teams left in the NFL, and Saleh was informed that he was out. This does have Aaron Rodgers written all over it. That was the thought that immediately popped to my mind earlier this morning when I saw the tweet notification. I was boarding my flight back from my sister's wedding in Washington, D.C. I saw that Robert Saleh got canned, and immediately I tweeted, now that he got let go, because this Niners defense is struggling under first-year defensive coordinator Nick Sorensen, Robert Saleh will immediately be tied to the San Francisco 49ers. And in thinking about the Aaron Rodgers-Robert Saleh relationship, they never seem to be on great terms. They never seem to get off on the right foot or have a great relationship. Saleh, a defensive coach, defensive mind. Rodgers, as we know, a very unique personality. His buddy, Nathaniel Hackett, is probably the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL. What's crazy about this move is that he gets to stay. Robert Saleh gets fired, and former Niners defensive player Jeff Ulbrich is going to take over as the Jets interim coach. He does not have any head coaching experience, although earlier this calendar year in Mobile, Alabama, he did serve as a head coach during the Senior Bowl. But according to reports, Saleh was thinking about firing Nathaniel Hackett, as that offense has been bad the last few weeks since blowing out the New England Patriots in primetime. Their offensive scheme is trash. Nathaniel Hackett is a certified fraud. And Saleh, who was going to fire potentially Nathaniel Hackett after another offensive no-show at the hands of a great Brian Flores-led defense, gets to stay, and Robert Saleh gets let go. Woody Johnson saying this morning that this is one of the most talented teams that the Jets have had, and he felt that it was necessary to make this move. And obviously, since Robert Saleh is gone, he immediately gets tied to the San Francisco 49ers. This Niners defense in 2023 and in 2024 has taken a big step back from when Saleh and DeMeco Ryans coordinated the defense. Nick Sorensen is a rookie defensive coordinator who has struggled to start the year. I know that Kyle Shanahan said today that he thinks Sorensen has done a great job and he likes the game plan so far. I think that's just a matter of the head coach not throwing one of his assistants under the bus. Our eyes don't lie to us. The numbers don't lie to us. The tape doesn't lie. This Niners defense has struggled mightily in a couple of really key areas to kick off the 2024 season. They've been underwhelming in generating a pass rush. They cannot stop the run. They can't get off the field on third downs, and there have been secondary breakdowns left and right, and that is coaching right there. If you continue to have secondary and communication breakdowns on the back end, that goes to show you that the players don't know what's going on. They are confused, and they're not being put in a position to be successful. And Robert Saleh was a great defensive coordinator for the Niners. He used that gig as a launching pad to become the head coach for the New York Jets. And from 2017 to 2020, the Niners consistently had very highly graded and highly touted defenses. And even in 2020, when the Niners suffered a bevy of injuries, Robert Saleh in his final year as the DC had this defense clicking, playing very well, and they had really good defensive numbers despite all of the injuries on that side of the ball. And even though he got fired and failed as a head coach for the New York Jets, he took care of business, and he did his thing with that Jets defense. Under his watch, since he was hired in 2021, the Jets first in points per drive, first in EPA per play, third in success rate. And that was despite the Jets playing the fourth most snaps over that stretch. So he delivered on that side of the ball, but he was never, and the team was never, able to get the quarterback position right. And you will not find a head coach in this league who will find success and hold on to their job for an extended period of time when this is their list of quarterbacks. Zach Wilson for 33 games, Mike White for 7 games, Aaron Rodgers 6 games, Joe Flacco 5 games, Trevor Siemian 3 games, Tim Boyle 2 games. That is a lack of consistency, that is a lack of stability, and just not having any talent at the most important position in all of professional sports. As for the big question of today's show, could the Niners bring him in as a defensive coordinator? Could they fire Nick Sorensen? Could they bring him in as a consultant? According to Mike Silver of the San Francisco Chronicle, Saleh plans to go on vacation and take time off with his family, does not plan on coaching again this year. Then he'll hit the market as a coaching free agent this upcoming offseason. He's going to be sought after. He's going to be highly coveted, and he's going to be one of the top defensive coordinators on the market. We'll see what happens for the remainder of the year pertaining to how Nick Sorensen and this defense performs, but if he struggles, if this Niners team doesn't get it figured out on the defensive side of the ball, it is so logical for Robert Saleh to come back to the San Francisco 49ers. He's close with head coach Kyle Shanahan. He has shown that he was and still is a great defensive mind. Nick Bosa has said, look, teams are playing us a little bit different. That's why we're struggling on defense. Well, I just pointed out some of the Jets' defensive numbers. Teams haven't figured out what he likes to do, what he prefers to do on the defensive side of the football. And we know that players absolutely love Robert Saleh. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, 2 marquee players and the team leaders on this defense, they played under Robert Saleh. They thrived under Robert Saleh. So if Nick Sorensen doesn't get it corrected, if the Niners miss the playoffs or they have an ugly bounce out in the NFL playoffs, look out for Robert Saleh to come back. And sometimes the best defensive coordinators are failed head coaches, which ends up being a decent thing for a team like the Niners, whose coordinators have been poached. And that's what happens when you have a lot of success in this league, because other teams are trying to get the next best thing from the teams that have the most success. D'Amico, Saleh, Mike McDaniel. But when those coordinators fail elsewhere, they come back to a team, and you don't have to worry about them leaving for a couple of years, a few years, maybe ever. You look at Brian Flores. I do think that he's going to have another shot to be a head coach in this league. He was above 500 while with the Miami Dolphins, but what he's doing and what he's done with that Vikings defense, he's superb. But Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, a failed head coach. Jim Schwartz, defensive coordinator for the Browns, a failed head coach in this league. Robert Saleh, a failed head coach, but he can still be a very good coordinator in the National Football League. Elsewhere for today's show, Talanoa Hufanga has ligament damage in his wrist. He's going to miss a month or so. Kyle Shanahan said a month, maybe longer. They haven't decided what to do yet about whether or not to place him on injured reserve, but if he's out for a month, he has to miss at least 4 games. That opens up a roster spot. That seems like the logical play. It's unfortunate for Hufanga. He comes back from that torn ACL. He twists his ankle in practice. He misses the Patriots game. He comes back against Arizona, and then he hurts his wrist. So an all-pro player from a couple of years ago hasn't been able to stay healthy the last couple of years. He was on the field for that long Kyler Murray touchdown run. The Niners got caught in a single high safety look, and Kyler Murray just turned on the Jets, and he kind of put Talanoa Hufanga in the dust, who sometimes can get too aggressive in biting on plays. He kind of bit a little bit on that play. Obviously, without him, Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa figure to be the starting safety tandem. Mustafa, the rookie 4th-round pick out of Wake Forest, is a bowling ball out there. Kyle Shanahan has said that he's been impressed, specifically with his communication. And then George Odom, a career special teamer, will elevate to the top backup role and continue to be. occupying that top backup role. As for Jake Moody, he has a high ankle sprain, and so he's going to be out probably about a month. And so he could be a candidate to go on injured reserve as well. And then Charvarius Ward, who said he's playing the worst ball of his career, continues to deal with this nagging knee injury. He could be a candidate to go on injured reserve. At the very least, he is unlikely to play against Seattle on a short week. So the Niners could be shorthanded in that secondary. They've had a lot of communication and scheme breakdowns on that back end. And now you have to go up against DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. The corresponding roster move with the Jake Moody injury, the Niners did sign kicker Matthew Wright. He is 40 of 47 on field goal attempts in his career, 35 of 37 on extra points, 6 of 9 on kicks of 50-plus yards. He has been with a bunch of teams throughout his NFL career. The Niners actually signed him going into Week 1 last year because he had experience kicking at Heinz Field, which is now Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. Jake Moody, I believe at the time, was dealing with a hamstring injury. So the Niners signed him as a precaution, never ended up appearing in a game, but obviously with that track record, he has appeared in some games, but has been with a bunch of teams, active rosters and practice squads. The Niners did work out a couple of kickers, and they elected to go with Matthew Wright. What Nick Bosa and Fred Warner said going into the Seattle game, of note, Nick Bosa calling it a must-win game. Obviously, if the Niners lose, they drop to 2-4. The season is not over. They still have plenty of time to get back on track. But if you can even up the record at 3-3, beat a divisional foe with this division wide open, this would be a huge win for San Francisco. And then Fred Warner said, if I have to get you up for this game, if I have to give a rah-rah speech, we probably have the wrong guys on the roster. The Niners know what is at stake in this football game coming up on Thursday night. And again, we'll be doing a watch party for this game right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Back in the studio tomorrow. Catch you then. Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.